We'll stand by.
I can see you now.
And we are live.
Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Arch at Rensselaer live stream during Rensselaer's Family Weekend. We are excited to host all of our parents, all of our families that are with us this evening. We want to give you guys a chance to go ahead and come on in. We see so many registrations that are still coming in. We have over 200 parents that have registered to attend with us tonight. So we want to give you guys a chance to come on in. And what we are going to do is get started right at this 5 p.m. time period because we want to be respectful of everyone's time. So without further ado, I want to introduce to everyone the Vice President of Student Life, Dr. Konwerski, who is going to share a few words with us for a welcome. Dr. Konwerski?
Well, thank you, Jade. And I'm glad to meet with you tonight virtually. I want to say welcome to Family Weekend, and we're excited for you to be in this conversation about the Arch. And in that spirit, I want to say experiential engagement is a critical part of the Rensselaer education. And the Arch allows our students to accelerate and amplify their experience and really put their knowledge into action. What they've learned in their 3 years as first year, second year, and third year students as juniors, they really can amplify into the Arch. And so what you're going to hear tonight is an exceptional presentation by a very talented team from Undergraduate Education, the Arch itself, and our Center for Career and Professional Development. And the team you're going to meet with tonight are incredible collaborators who are going to support your students no matter what year, first year students, second, or if they're just about to go into the Arch this spring, or maybe they're even in the Arch this fall. So you're going to hear from us, about a number of opportunities that we'll be presenting, and you'll obviously hear about the variety or the range, whether it's an internship, a co-op, an opportunity to do research or service or civic engagement. Study abroad is a little bit more problematic as a result of COVID, but also the individual learning opportunities that our students will have. They will self-design a number of exciting programmatic elements that might cross several of those bridges. They might connect with industry expertise. They might actually conduct research. They might build or develop something on their own. So with that spirit, I'll say, as parents and families, you're incredible partners in this. And we always want to help us open doors. And so if you can open a door to an organization, a research entity, a nonprofit, or a business or corporation, we want to tap your expertise. And, the force multiplier model is in effect. If we can tap into the expertise of our parents and families and our alumni, the opportunities are boundless for our students. So we thank you for coming. We thank you for enjoying the rest of the Family Weekend and participating in this session on the Arch. And I encourage you, connect with us on LinkedIn. That's our most powerful network for the professional networks that all of us are engaged with professionally. But it's never too late, and it's never late to start connecting through LinkedIn, but it's really never too early for your students to start thinking about their Arch experience, and especially their Arch away. So with that, I'll turn it back over to this talented team and say again, welcome to Family Weekend. I'm bringing you greetings tonight on behalf of the president and the school deans and all of my vice presidential colleagues. And I look forward to seeing you at many other events throughout the weekend. So I'll turn it back over to, I think, Jade.
Thank you, Dr. Konwerski, for being with us tonight. And I will turn it over to Ms. Diamond Jackson, the Assistant Director of the Arch and Student Transitions.
Hello, as Jay said, my name is Diamond Jackson. I'm the Assistant Director of the Arch and Student Transitions. I'm typically the person that your student talks to when they have any Arch questions, or if you've called our phone, I'm the one you've spoken to. So hello. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of our presentation today, so you know who will be speaking and connect with them later on. So to begin, Director of the Arch will be Jade Felder, who will be speaking over the pandemic parameters and the Arch overview. We'll also hear from the Director of Financial Aid, Marty Daniels, and the Associate Bursar regarding financial planning and important dates. We'll hear from the sophomore class dean, Isabel Norman. And then finally, we'll wrap up with the Director of the Arch Academic Programs, Dr. Powell, and the Director of Career and Professional Development, Philip Bruce. So we will go ahead and swing it over to Director Felder.
Thank you so much for that, Diamond. And we are going to jump right in. One of the most important questions that we received First and foremost, I want to thank all the families who have registered and have sent in their questions. We plan to make sure that all of your questions are answered tonight. We have compiled them. We have divvied them up in the various aspects to make sure that we can get those things answered for you. Also, I want to remind you that if a question comes in as you are watching the live stream, please utilize the ARCH website where we have the feedback link that you can send us direct feedback as we are engaging in this time. And then the other thing I want to make sure I mention is that if you know of parents or families who want to stay engaged with what's happening with the ARCH at Rensselaer, that they can subscribe to newsletters, and we will make sure that that information is also available on the ARCH website. So the first and most important question that parents have asked about is really around the pandemic parameters and the planning that the Institute is doing and what we're currently undergoing as a Rensselaer family. And so T3SQ is something you may be familiar with through all of the correspondences that the Institute has provided. But what it stands for is testing, tracing, tracking, surveillance, and quarantine and isolation. So currently the Institute has a lot of parameters for every person on the campus where we are being tested, and our students, of course, are being tested on a weekly basis. And so what this means is everyone has times where they're able to go and get tested, whether it's a Monday, Thursday, or a Tuesday, Friday. All of our students are on that rotation to make sure that they get that testing done twice a week. The tracing is just identifying any recent contacts, making sure that there was no ill or exposed individuals if we do come in contact with folks who are in fact COVID-19 positive. We do have a live dashboard for the Institute, and to date, we only have 8 cases that are COVID positive. So if you want to stay up to date with that information, definitely check out the dashboard. If you just want to get a sense, every single day or maybe every week of what's happening on campus with our COVID updates. So then we move to tracking, the contact tracing used in determining community spread. And right now ours is extremely low. So those 8 students who are COVID positive are definitely in isolation. And then you have surveillance and quarantine, which is the word everybody is very, very familiar with. So that is the overall approach that Rensselaer is using. And then the current housing parameters that I want to speak to are going to be very, very similar for the students in the ARCH summer term for this upcoming summer 2021. So the total residency is reduced by 55%. That's to continue to de-densify the campus so that we are able to, control the spread, make sure that everyone is accounted for while they are on campus and in Rensselaer use of facilities. The next thing is 2 students per room / apartment. So no more than 2 students are occupying one space, no more than 2 students to a bathroom in the residential commons, in multiple shared persons bathrooms areas. They will not be occupied with more than 2 students. The student with COVID-19 related health vulnerabilities, they are in singular spaces. And so we also have no brief housing occupancy for this fall term. So we wanted to kind of lay this out for you just so that you have a sense of what it will be for the students as they come to campus for the ARCH summer term. As you all know, the sophomore cohort is currently remote for the fall term. However, they will be here with us in the spring on campus, and then they will be in the ARCH summer term on campus as well. So this information is just really a brief overview of what is happening on campus currently and what parents and students can really expect to see for the upcoming ARCH summer term as far as the parameters in place. So the most important thing we want to get to is the presentation. So let's go ahead and jump in. The ARCH at Rensselaer is definitely one of the most robust ways that the Institute has really faced forward in terms of facing multifaceted challenges in the 21st century. And so what it looks like for all students at Rensselaer, as it is a requirement, is students spend a summer term on campus, and this is typically after they finish the freshman and sophomore year at the Institute. That summer thereafter is spent on campus in instruction, basically taking the junior level courses. This is then followed by a semester away, which is considered the world away experience. And so Dr. Powell and Mr. Bursar are going to talk a little bit about that semester away experience a little bit later in the presentation. But what we're really doing here is preparing those students for the multifaceted challenges. And what does that look like for a student going into the career field? What does that look like for a student going into a co-terminal degree or an accelerated PhD? The ARC is really designed to provide the experiential learning for a student within the 4-year capacity, not to extend beyond the 4 years or not to keep them held at the institute longer than that should require. However, if you are an architecture student or one of your students are architecture, they will be at the institute for 5 years and they will take their ARC after their 3rd year of instruction. So then we move into the ARC intentionality. And this is really what the president and the executive leadership have designed to make the ARC intentionally transformative. And so the first thing that, the question that comes up is, well, why the ARC? Here are the intentionality behind why this is such an important part of a student's matriculation at Rensselaer. First, you're going to look at the acceleration of immersion. And that is in academic and professional world. So most times when students come to a college or any place of tertiary education, they are not already able to speak for a discipline that they have not had experience in. So for example, if I'm a computer science major, how much experience in the field have I had? If I am an electrical engineering major, how much experience in the field have I had? So an acceleration of immersion is really the academic and the professional world meeting together so that the students can take the theory from the classroom and have that application in the field. So the second thing we look at is the academic advising, career counseling, leadership development. These are all components of class outcomes at the institute. And that's what really frames how a student is led through from a programmatic perspective. What are they being prepared for? So academic advising happens at the very beginning of a student's start at the college. But as they progress, namely in the freshman year, sophomore year, they start to get more in-depth career counseling and advising, leadership development through the Archer Center for Student Leadership. These are all the components that students really should take advantage of in addition to attending their regular classes as scheduled. Then the unique thing is the academic and co-curricular summer experiences. So we really create the summer to be something that's totally different from what a student would experience in the fall and spring. And that's typically because, number one, the cohort is smaller. They're the only cohort on campus, so they have the attention of their faculty. They have the reclustering with their cohort, as you see here. There's a lot of different opportunities that are curated for the students as the only cohort on campus. Then you have more focused and meaningful engagement with the faculty. So typically when a student is in the first and the second year, they're in a lot of foundational courses like pre-calculus or DiffyQ, which is differential equations. They're in a lot of those foundational courses to really help them manage where their major is headed. But once they get to the Arch summer term, this is where they're able to build an even better relationship with faculty because the ratio of the class size is smaller and students are able to have in-class time and out-of-class time where they're able to connect with their faculty. And then you have the opportunity for students to engage in self-discovery, which is really encompassing the college experience in general. And so self-discovery from the places of salient identity, from career changes to building confidence, resilience, all those things that we in student affairs make sure we want to instill in students before they leave and graduate from the institute. So what does this do for our students? It leads them to intellectual agility, multicultural sophistication, and a global perspective, which is what class outcomes are designed to provide for the students during their 4 years at the institute. So in the plan of study, we want to make sure that the parents and families are aware of what the entire 4 years looks like for a student at Rensselaer. So you'll notice first, 4 years to graduation. For architecture, it is typically 5. 8 semesters of instruction, 8 semesters of financial aid. And so that means that from the freshman year when a student begins with us, they have their fall and spring on campus in courses, and then they have their summer. This could be a free summer where they go home to spend time with family, or if they are accelerated enough, this is a time where we have some students who complete the early Arch summer term, which then provides them more flexibility down the line for when they want to take their semester away. And then the sophomore year, you'll see it's bolded, it's in red. The reason why is because this is the most important preparation time for a student preparing for the Arch. So in the fall, Students are jumping into those sophomore level courses, but they're also really choosing majors. They're also really changing majors. They're in a place of delineation between, do I want to continue as a computer science major? Do I want to continue as a business major? And they're really making those tough decisions. So once they get to the spring term, they start their Arch Exploration and Planning course. And this is what's going to prepare them for that Arch summer term. And at the very beginning of the sophomore year, which is called Arch Discovery Day, it's an onset similar to Navigating Rensselaer Beyond. You may be familiar with that from the student's first year experience. But what Arch Discovery Day does is really focuses on the academic side of what a student can expect for their Arch summer term. And it focuses on a lot of the operational and logistics, such as financial aid and Bursar. So once the student has completed the sophomore year, the junior year is spent in the field. The junior year is spent in some sort of experiential learning opportunity. Then that is basically done in the fall or spring, not both semesters. The student chooses the fall or the spring. And if you want to have an idea of what students are typically looking at, you can see from the majors on the Arch website which majors are classified to go away in the fall versus who's classified to go away in the spring, and all of the majors that actually have the option to choose. So the semester away is only one semester. So you have the summer term on campus, and you have the semester here where the student is in instruction, and you also have the semester away. Then the senior year is the last year that the students wrap up their experience, and they're either graduating, moving into a co-terminal program, or moving into an accelerated PhD. So those are really the nuts and bolts, I'd say, of what the 4 years at the Institute looks like. And majority of the parents who are joining us, you probably have a freshman or a sophomore student. And so the last thing that I want to note here is that the on-campus housing requirement for the summer term is required. And that's traditionally what we've done every single year. And that will be no different for summer 2021, unless we hear differently from our Institute leadership. So you can plan that your student will be on campus with us for the summer 2021 term. Now, the sample that you'll see in front of you is just a typical schedule of what an engineering student would expect during the summer term. One of the things that I want to point out here is the common lunch period. So during the summer term, the common lunch period is the only time in the summer that students have the same lunch time. Typically, this is not in the fall or in the spring. It's only a result of the summer. Excuse me. You also have the lab period. The lab period happens Monday, Thursday, but it could be a Tuesday, Friday lab, whatever the case may be. And then you also have a Wednesday that is free. So the Wednesday is where no students have classes. There may be a 1 lab or 2, but the Wednesday is really meant to be a recharging place for all of the students in the summer term. So again, those are 2 or 3 actually unique things about the summer term that we don't currently have in this fall or spring. They have a common lunch period where all students are able to gather. They have the Wednesday off, and their lab periods are really spread out throughout the week. So this is just a summer sample. And typically what we would have added in here is the trips and the field trips, the academic trips, the co-curricular trips with the union. But due to COVID-19, we don't really know as far as gauging that aspect as of yet. We may have a lot of virtual offerings for students as we did last summer or this summer that just passed, which was summer 2020, where we had virtual online Arch. Okay. So in preparation for the summer term, this is probably the most important slide that I want to leave you with for this introduction, is that the semester away selection for sophomores will be coming up. It's at the end of the fall term, and it begins December 11th. So what that actually means is this is when students will be able to go in their SIS and select whether they want to be away in the fall or they want to be away in the spring for their semester away requirement. Their Arch enrollment in the Exploration and Planning course starts when classes begin in spring. So the sophomores will be on campus at this time in the residential halls. So they will also be starting their Arch Exploration and Planning course at that time with our CCPD. The last thing is the securing the semester away opportunities. you want to start as early as possible. And I know that our CCPD is definitely going to highlight a lot of that information for you later on. So the last thing is students are reminded to regularly check with their ARCH requirements, okay? Prior to due dates, make sure that you're opening the newsletters. As parents, make sure the students are opening their newsletters. We see you guys as the partners to making sure that our students are on track to meeting all of the requirements that they need. And so I think that that's a very brief overview for you all, but hopefully that gets at the nuts and bolts of what we expect from the students moving into the spring term in preparation for the ARCH. And I'll turn it back over to Ms. Jackson now.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So now we're going to hear from Marty Daniels, the Director of Financial Aid. And then after that, we'll hear from the Associate Bursar, Michelle Orzo, regarding important dates as far as payment.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm really glad to be able to spend some time with you here today. And I think the first thing I'd like to do is just really say thank you to the parents that are on the call. This past year has been challenging for everyone, of course. That includes making it through the summer and our transition to remote customer service and electronic work with the documents and all that type of stuff. So first, thank you very much for your patience and your understanding with our office. And as we look to turn corners and head towards the upcoming year, one of the positive things, of course, is the ARCH experience. And just when I hear Jade talk about this, it makes me want to go. I want to be an ARCH student at Rensselaer. It's such a fabulous program. I hope this works out so well for you and your students and that you get all the benefits that are there to be had. For financial aid, do keep in mind that we do have our 8 semesters of eligibility policy. And so the summer when the student is taking classes, that does count as one of the 8 semesters of total gift funding from Rensselaer. And it's just simply a matter of there's typically 2 semesters in any given year. The ARCH year is still intended to have just 2 terms of course enrollment. And so we know that the first term of eligibility would be for the summer, and then the other term is going to be when the student is on campus. So generally speaking, you can expect to receive the same per semester level of financial aid from pretty much every source. That would be the federal Pell Grants or the New York State TAP Award, as well as the Rensselaer programs. As long as the student's remaining enrolled full-time when they're in courses and meeting the other general requirements, expect that the financial aid view for the ARCH semester of enrollment is going to be like any typical semester with Rensselaer. On the next slide, we talk about the FAFSA renewal process. And as you know, coming in, most of you have filed the FAFSA probably at least twice, because you know that's necessary to renew the need-based grants from the federal, state, and RPI sources, as well as the other federal programs. For the ARCH year, though, understand that we ask you to file the FAFSA by December 31st of 2020 for the ARCH Summer on Campus 2021. And that is just simply so that we can work the processing of the awards for the summer term into our other business schedule and have things lined up so that when Michelle's office goes to run the bills in April, the financial aid that you're expecting is showing on the bill. So this is definitely a partnership environment. We understand it's an enrollment partnership for all 4 years. But this is where, for the financial aid office, the more that you can do to help meet the filing deadline, the easier things will be for you throughout the ARCH transition. And so, of course, the FAFSA is available now. Please feel free to go ahead and file it at any time. Of course, accuracy also important. So December 31st, everybody's having a nice break between the semesters. Go ahead and file early. And then for us, March is for ARCH. That's when we focus on processing. So we line up with the billing. Next, just a topic related to specific program eligibility. And this comes up every once in a while from our students. They ask a lot of great questions all the time. And so one question that's come up is, could a student receive a student loan to help pay for their housing requirements for their away term? Maybe they have an internship or a work opportunity that's not in the hometown or near Troy, and they're going to go live elsewhere. Unfortunately for this, the answer is no. They could not receive a new loan for that. And that's just simply because the loan programs are based on academic coursework and the tuition charges associated with the academic credits. For the ARCH, even though it qualifies as being considered enroll in school, it's not an academic course work credit load. And so also, there's also no tuition charges during the away term. So that's how some of those things come together. But for this question, no new loans for housing only. On the next slide, we talk a little bit about another loan topic, and it is something that comes up also in terms of when a student is away, how long can they be away from school before their loans will go into repayment? And the general answer to that question is 6 months. For the federal direct loan programs, the student can be gone for 6 months before they have expired their grace period, and then they go into repayment, and so on down the road until the loan is repaid, unless they go back into school. So along the way, enrolling for the ARCH activity for the away semester is very important, because if you're a student that is going to be here for the summer, and then you're also here for the fall, and then you have your away term in the spring, that sets that student up so they would have more than 6 months away from school between the spring away and then the summer vacation. Okay, so enrolling in that ARCH away activity has us report the student as generally enrolled, and it keeps them in school status for their loan deferment. All students, of course, it's a requirement to do the away activity, so of course you're going to do it for that reason, but that's kind of the key that keeps the lock closed on the checking account to repay the loans, is enroll in your ARCH activity, and your loans generally would not go into repayment. And then finally, I wanted to make sure you all had the contact information, as Jade and I think Diamond might have mentioned earlier. And so here's our customer service email, as well as our phone number. Our phones are active now. We do have a little bit of limitation on our hours due to staff shuffling, but certainly you can give a call and or send an email, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. Also, I wanted to make sure that you folks had a chance to see our current alphabet zones for our assistant director staff. The assistant directors are the folks who are really doing the work on the accounts and making things happen. And so we split by alpha based on workload, of course. And so here you can see where your last name might fit in and have an understanding of who your assistant director is. So with that said, again, I want to thank you for your time. Keep in mind, we do have a section about the ARCH on our financial aid website, so you can check there. There's a lot of great resources available. And without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Michelle Orzel from the Bursar office.
Okay, thank you, Marty. Basically, the ARCH semester is really no different than any other semester. We will bill you the exact same way. Billing for the ARCH term, and that's with the assumption that your student has registered in time, and most of them will have if they're following all the guidelines that Jade and her crew set up. So the bill will go out April 1st, and it'll be due April 23rd. And if for some reason your student is not registered by that date, again, you will be billed monthly as you're used to now. So May 1st, you will get the first bill. But for most of your students, it'll be April 1st. I'll give you a little bit more information moving forward. The fall and the spring terms, the bill dates are there as well. Spring, you're going to be getting that December of 2020, and that'll be due January 8th. So just so you have a planning mode to get yourself going. Cashnet is where you see your bill, and I encourage you all to be sure that you do have your students give you access to Cashnet so that you can see the bill as we send it as well. It'll go to your email address as well as theirs, and I encourage you to do that, because without it, you're not seeing everything. The students can see things live in SIS as well. So if you're looking for a payment that's made in between two bill dates, your student can always check there, and it'll show them anything that's happened live. In terms of making payment, still everything's the same. You can make your online payments, checking your savings. We are there periodically. You know, everybody's working remote, trying to keep the campus densified. We are in the office a few days a week. Like Marty said, the staff is shuffling. Please feel free to mail if that's what you're comfortable with. We are getting mail every day of the week, and we are posting everything as we have been. I do encourage online. It's much easier. You don't have to worry about the mail time or where it goes in terms of anything else. So I encourage you for that. International payments as usual. There is the link to Flywire. We do encourage that. It is a much cleaner and cheaper way for people to make payments. as Marty said, file the FAFSA. The FAFSA is a very important part if your student gets financial aid. Do that right now. It's after October 1st. Get it done with before the holidays hit, so that you're ready, so that they're ready, so that when the bill comes out in April, you'll see what they're expecting and be able to plan a little more accordingly. The pay plan will open up after April 1st for you to sign up, and you won't have to make a first payment till May 1st. So if you do your FAFSA and you have your aid, you'll be able to have all your tools in front of you for planning what your pay plan would be should you need it. For the summer, I will say it is a 3-month plan. It will be May, June, July. We don't have overlapping plans. We don't have any, a fall and a summer overlapping in a month. So that's the reason for that. Unfortunately, the bad part of what I do is we want to make sure everybody's paying on time. We don't like to be the bad guy, but we do have to place holds and late fees. And for all of you who know now, they are on right now for the fall term. It's not a fun time, but we put it on now so you have a lot of time to get ready for registration. So registration for fall is coming up, and we want to make sure that's clean so that when you're ready to go into the summer registration for spring's coming up, I'm sorry. And you want to make sure that's all taken care of so that it's clean going into what your child's going to register for summer as well. So we put the holds on to kind of get your attention and be like, all right, somebody's behind on something, and gives them extra time before registration comes up so you're aware of what's going on and gives you that ample time to take care of things, apply for a loan, do what have you. We don't like to talk about financial leave of absences. So if everybody's bill is paid by the end of the semester, then we don't have to speak about that at all. So. As I said, the tuition payment plan, it's 4 installments for each of the fall and spring semester. The big one that we're going to talk about here is summer. Summer is May, June, July, and you can sign up for it anytime after April 1st. Payments are always due at the beginning of the month. I encourage you. It's a small fee to pay to have your payments spread out. There is no interest involved in it. So, for instance, if you needed to take out $6,000, it's a $35 fee. And you pay $2,000 to get to the $6,000. There's no interest included, but it does spread it out for you, makes it a little easier to do. And again, like I said, for the fall and the spring, those are spread out over 4 months. And if you have any questions, please email us, bursar@rpi.edu. We are very cognizant of our emails. We work them diligently. We try not to leave anybody unanswered for more than 24 business hours. If you want to call us, our phone line, you can call the 276-6610. If you listen to the entire message, it will give you a spot where you can leave us a voicemail and we will call you back. But you don't need to do that. You can email us your phone number if you want to call, and we will call you. We will get back to you as soon as possible. We're on the phone all the time. And like I said, please don't hesitate to reach out. We will get back to you. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michelle. So now we're going to hear from the sophomore class dean, Isabel Norman.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for Family Weekend. As Diamond mentioned, I'm Isabel Norman, the sophomore class dean. So I know this semester and last semester, and for some of you this semester as well, has probably been quite a roller coaster for you and your child. I applaud you on being a great support system and advocate in order for you to help your students be better and more successful this semester. So I just wanted to touch base. I think there are some people who know who I am, or at least know what the class dean is. But in case you don't, I just wanted to touch base on some of the reasons why you or your student would reach out to your class dean. So here are some examples. We all know that college can be confusing, perhaps not knowing questions to ask or who to ask. So I'm here to help your students navigate their questions and concerns and direct them to the appropriate resources, offices, and people. Also, if they are struggling to keep up in their classes or have received an EWS, or at this point, maybe multiple EWSs, we can definitely discuss strategies to improve their academic performance and also provide resources to get them back on track before this. The next reason is that perhaps they're having a really great semester and want more of a challenge. We can definitely discuss additional opportunities that may be available to them. Situation. to, you can always start. I can direct them to the appropriate resources, whether that's counseling or tutoring, things like that. We'll also send out the monthly sophomore newsletter and any other relevant communications to keep them up to date. And then also, if your student needs an excused absence for class, if they're considering a leave of absence or withdrawal, or they're currently on a leave and they're ready to return from the spring, they would get started with me about that as well. In a nutshell, there's a lot of other sort of unique instances that we could touch on. And essentially, I always say, if you have any questions and you don't know where to start, you can always just start with me as the class dean, and then we will sort of set them on the right path on who to talk to, what to do, what forms to fill out, who to email, things like that. So I'm certain that ARCH will be a great life experience for your child, and perhaps more so now with all of the various layers they have to learn to navigate in this pandemic version of life that we're in. I do personally believe in the power of internships and their ability to help us figure out that age-old question of, what do I want to do with my life? And perhaps, in many cases, what don't I want to do with my life? And I think internships are a great opportunity to learn those lessons as early on in life as we can. I do hope that your child's ARCH experience is equally as enlightening, fulfilling, and allows them to gain clarity on what they want to do after graduating from RPI. So if you ever need to reach me, feel free to email me, or you can visit the Student Success website where I have my scheduling link available, and either you or your student can excited to be on this journey today through ARCH and all the way to graduation. Wishing you all the best. Thanks.
Thank you, Isabel. And now we're going to get to the largest part of this, hearing about the planning for the semester away options. So we're going to hear from Dr. Powell first, and then Director Bruce about the ILE options, internships, pretty much everything that you want to know about how your student's going to be successful during their semester away.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Diamond. As mentioned, my name is Tiffany Powell, and I'm the director of the ARCH Academic Programs. And I am very excited to be able to work with your student as they are making decisions around the semester away opportunity. You'll notice from the screen here, the slide, you have a variety of options that are available. And I'm just going to take a couple of moments just to go through each one of them. The first thing I want to point out is that you'll notice that the prefix for each one of those opportunities is ILE, and what that stands for is an individual learning experience. Because the semester away opportunity is so unique for each student, we want students to realize that it is their individual plan, it's their individual path, and it is going to be very different from even their friend who is sitting right beside them in the classroom. And so we want students to be cognizant of the variety of options that are available and to think broadly. Do not limit themselves to just one opportunity, but to think about the variety of opportunities that are available and select more than one. And so many love the first two, the co-op and internship. That is the beloved option. Students are always looking to have those workplace experiences, even as Isabel just explained, but there are other opportunities that are available to our students, and we want them to be aware of them. And not that any of them are more valuable than the other, they each provide a very viable way to have an experiential learning opportunity that will really enhance who they are as learners, as future employers and workplaces. So I just want to take a couple of moments to go through those options for you. The co-op experience is typically beyond the semester. So it usually is a semester in the summer. It's more than, it's kind of maybe 6 months, I believe. And it allows students to have an extended learning opportunity. There are organizations, companies that really provide this space for learning for students, and they will employ them for longer periods of time beyond the semester. And so if your student has the opportunity to acquire one of those, that is excellent. And the CCPD is extremely supportive with helping students to navigate that process. The ILE internship is also a workplace experience. This can be paid or unpaid depending on the dynamics. And once again, the CCPD is very helpful with helping students to make that selection appropriately. This is typically just for the semester though. So it's a semester long opportunity, whereas the co-op tends to be longer than a semester. The ILE international experiences includes our study abroad. And we have affiliate and unaffiliated programs in which students may enroll. But during our current climate of COVID and trying to navigate those realities, we don't have as many of those opportunities afforded students at the moment. But things are just so likely to shift, and of course, we're all hoping that it does very, very soon. So we want students to stay close to the international office. If they are looking to acquire one of those experiences, just ask. Just reach out. See, those dates and deadlines for those applications vary. And so it's going to be really important that your student reaches out to the office to learn more about what those deadlines are and the degree to which those programs are available. I do want to note that there are, of course, financial implications for enrolling in study abroad programs. I think there may be some specifics around financial aid and how that can be applied. And I'm certain that you can reach out to our financial aid office to see what those dynamics are specifically, but do know that there is a cost usually attached to the international study abroad opportunities. For ILE research, we have research that it includes students working directly with RPI faculty. They have an opportunity to connect with their professors personally, and there are many faculty who have projects, who have research endeavors that they are pursuing, and they're looking for students to join the team. This provides a great learning experience for those students, and they not only get to work alongside their faculty who they've been getting to know, especially during that summer semester, but also just to broaden their own research capabilities. So this is something that is afforded our students to really add to their learning landscape. In addition to the on-campus experience, which can be paid depending on the funding source and funding streams that are available, students can assume research opportunities beyond the RPI campus as well. And so we want students to reach out to those labs and those universities, look for programs in which they can participate with those research opportunities. I will also encourage students who are interested in research beyond our campus to reach out also to the CCPD, who is extremely resourceful with connecting students to those opportunities. We also have civic engagement, and this is more of a volunteering experience where students work with various organizations, nonprofit organizations, just really kind of getting their hands kind of wet and their feet wet rather, and getting their hands dirty. And that's not dirty in a bad way, but working kind of hands-on in their experience so that they can just sort of provide service and just tap into their philanthropic, perhaps, perspectives and things that they find of interest. There's several students who choose this opportunity. They've already been thinking about organizations with whom they want to work, and this is another place for them to have an experiential opportunity that will expand who they are, but also give them a new thing that they can add to their resume. We have study at another U.S. institution, and this is where students can take courses during their away semester apart from RPI's campus. And I do want to let you know that there are financial implications for this opportunity as well. Many students go to community colleges in their area, they go back home, and they want to take some courses that are going to not only broaden their scope, sometimes they want to add some courses and explore some concepts that are not necessarily a part of their degree plan. But then there also may be times when they want to take some courses that they can then transfer back to the institution. If that is the case, students are strongly advised to speak with their faculty advisor to find out the degree to which those courses can be transferred. Don't make an assumption that if you take the course, you can transfer it back. I strongly encourage students to make sure that they find that out beforehand, especially if they want to transfer it back to the institute. The last is a very unique opportunity, and it's called the ILE Self Design. And the Self Design has taken on so many different shapes and fashions. And this is kind of like a DIY, you know, do-it-yourself kind of experience. You can design your semester away to be whatever it is you like. There's some students who study other languages, some students who are preparing for graduate programs, some students design apps and they create gaming platforms. Other students are partnering with their peer and working on a project together. It has so many different facets by which a student can explore. I'm going to also talk to you a little bit about some unique opportunities that have just presented themselves around the ILE. Oh, before I get to that, okay, pardon me. So these are the offices in which you want to connect with concerning each of the opportunities. So we have internships and co-ops, civic engagement. If students are interested in those opportunities, they are going to want to connect with the CCPD. If they're interested in RPI research, study at another U.S. institution, or the self-designed pathways, you would connect with me in the Office of Undergraduate Education. If students are looking to just pursue study abroad or some international experiences, they should connect with the Office of International Programs. So here's just a little bit of what's happening with the ILE Self Design, and it's taken on a variety of shapes, especially this year, and we're very excited about this. The first is this ILE opportunity around whole leadership development. And there are a group of wonderful people at Wild Leaders that have really given our students an opportunity to explore a variety of leadership topics. You'll see those topics listed on the left. Inside of this WILD profile are a variety of assessments that really test students and have them explore who they want to be, who they are, where they're going, things like showing up under pressure, things like how do I invest in the learning and growth of others, what is my personal development plan. These can be such amazing explorative opportunities. What's great about this experience as well is that at the end of the semester, students will earn a certificate in whole leadership development that they can now add to their resumes and now tell prospective employers about that experience and how they know how to show up on the job. And I think that really would set them apart from some of their peers that may be applying for that same position. There is a nominal fee that's connected to access to this particular set of assessments. It's at a reduced cost, and you'll see that indicated there on the left, the bottom left. And if students are interested in taking advantage of this leadership opportunity, students would, when they fill out the ILE self-design plan, they would select leadership, and then we will go forward with making sure that they get connected to the tools appropriately. I also want to take a moment just to share with you that there is also a ILE career-centric program that provides a variety of templates for students to access. And what's great about these is that first, they were developed by our own CCPD, and we're really excited about that. And then secondly, they are major specific or school specific. So there is a LOLI template, there is an engineering template, there is a HAAS, humanities template. So depending on your specific major, there is a template, there's a pathway, there's support for you. And what makes these experiences so unique is that sometimes students can go with the wide open blank canvas of being able to design their own. And then there are other times when students need a little bit more guidance, and these opportunities provide that for them. The final one around the ILE option that's available to our current sophomores is the experience around COVID-19 research. And what we're excited about is that we're inviting teams of students to come together and to think about the research that they can indulge themselves with, how they can expand their knowledge around what's happening in science and in engineering and technology. They also have the opportunity to partner with faculty who may be doing some amazing research around these areas. And so that is also an option under the ILE self-design. And if you make that selection, then you have those different options of which you can choose. So I want to just say thank you so much. Oh, there's one more, pardon me. Diamond, thank you. There's one more. This is just once again back to the international opportunities. So we're not necessarily ready to go forward with that, but you see the contact person, Karen Dvorak. She is our program manager in the Office of International Programs, and she's very, very resourceful. And if you have a question around international opportunities, you can speak directly with her, and she will give students the appropriate information necessary. So now I can say, here's my contact information. So thank you so much. I hope that this has been helpful for you. If you have additional questions around the specific semester away options, please do not hesitate to send me an email. And I do respond to those emails pretty quickly. And I look forward to not only assisting your student, but to be a support to you, parents and family as well, as much as I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Powell. Now we're going to hear from Philip Bruce, the Director of the Center for Career and Professional Development.
Thank you, Diamond. Thank you, Dr. Powell, and welcome, parents. We are really excited to be sharing some information with you all on how we can work collectively together to sort of help your student navigate ARCH as successfully as possible. I think Director Felder did a great job of explaining the ARCH summer experience, and Dr. Powell shared a lot about the different options that are available to your student for their away semester, which is primarily where my office supports, right? Is either the fall or the spring or spring-summer of your student's away experience. Now, our office is structured not just for ARCH, obviously, but for your students' whole time at RPI. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about how we work to support your students. So on the career development team, these are folks that are completely focused on your student. They only work with students and faculty. So their job is to build a relationship with your student from day one. Hopefully, at this point, your students know who their career development specialist is. And hopefully they've at least reached out to say, hello, give us some ideas on how we can start to think about helping them. Everything from, what should I be doing right now to make my resume look better, to working virtual fairs and employer information sessions to find out what's on the mind of these employers and what they want to see. And the career development team really does work with your student throughout that entire process. When they do select their semester away, and let's say that they're going to do an internship or a co-op experience, the Experiential Learning team works with them. So they help to get the student registered, as Marty described. It's important that the student get registered into that course that we offer, because that has financial aid implications, but it also is a way we can sort of boost the experience for the student. So I'll tell you in a minute how we're kind of doing that on the experiential learning side, but these are the folks that directly register your students, work with them to get the appropriate paperwork, and then have a great semester experience with them in an LMS course. The employer relations team is pretty much what it sounds like, right? Like, these folks work with employers. They hear from the career development team where your students want to go, what industries they want to go into, and then they go and source opportunities and deliver those to our students through a platform called Handshake. So the employer relations team can go out and guess at what our students want to do. We've got a very good idea, of course, what a great deal of them want to do, given the reputation RPI has around the world with organizations. So we know where they go and kind of what they want to do. But your student is an individual, and we want to hear from them. We want to know what their passion is and what company, industries, career trajectories they want to have. And that employer relations team goes and sources those. So on our next slide, this is what I was talking about on the experiential learning side. So, we're going to talk about the ARCH planning course. So this is what happens to your students next semester, right? The ARCH prep course is designed to really help them gear up for their semester away. Today's world right now is pretty crazy, right? Like, employers are shifting recruitment schedules around weekly. As long as there's not a vaccine or a stimulus, it's going to continue to be a up and down sort of market. How do students adjust to that? How does your particular student deal with everything being virtual now? And for the most part, that's going to happen this spring. You know, most recently, we've seen 80% of employers say they're going to continue virtual recruiting. There's going to be a lot less in-person fairs and in networking events. You probably will never shake another person's hand again that you don't know, right? That's how the world is right now. The Arch Prep course helps students understand that, deal with it, and we want this to be a beneficial course for them, not just something else they have to do this spring. Our hope is that if they participate fully in this course, which is required, so we want them to do those things and get an S, they'll be as prepared as they possibly can for whatever market they face in the next 9 to 12 months. Now, here's that slide that I just started talking about. This is the experiential learning sort of added bonus that we're trying to create for these students. We have, as I've already said, a very dynamic and crazy workplace environment right now. So we are leveraging our amazing alumni, and we've got these executive councils, and they're located in those areas that you see right there. This is important, right, for us to be able to source and build sustainable relationships with organizations to help us weather situations like a global pandemic. We want to create 50 placements for these students in all of these areas. Now, let me be very clear about what the word placement means. These are opportunities that we're creating. Students still have to have the abilities to secure these opportunities through interviews and through being able to articulate their experiences and skill sets. And that's not something that the average student just shows up on campus with. So working with the career development team to build those skill sets is what's going to allow your student to secure an opportunity in one of these areas. But while they're on assignment, let's say they go to Silicon Valley, right? So that's one of the areas that we're focusing on. They're going to get interactions with the executive council members. They're going to help with networking and just general career advice from really impressive industry experts who also happen to be Rensselaer alumni, who have a vested interest in seeing your student also be successful. So we're trying to create this environment where everyone is as successful as possible given what they want to do. But we all still have to work for it. It's not going to be where you virtually show up at the CCPD and we say, boom, there you go. You're going to go work for Abbott Labs in California. You may say, I don't want to go to California and I don't want to work for Abbott Labs. And then that's when we'd have a problem, right? So we need to hear from you. What do you want to do? And as parents, you can encourage your student to do that. You know, they don't have to spend 40 hours a week with us. That's not what I'm suggesting. They just need to come help us build relationships with them so we can understand how to help them as individuals. On the next slide is, so this is some advice that we give to your students, but we want the grown-ups to hear it also. We tell students that this really is your life and your career. So you need to take it seriously. And it doesn't mean you have to hyper-focus on it and be super stressed about it. But if you do the little things, do some self-examination and understand where you want to go in general terms and what you want to do, you'll have a much better personal journey. If you attend career-related events early, and even if you don't necessarily think you want to go work for Cisco, but you are into computer science or programming or something like that, Cisco may have an opportunity that you've never thought about. So attending an information session gives you access to those employers and helps broaden your perspectives. I would encourage students to participate in those. And if you do meet a recruiter and they tell you, I'd like to see these things on your resume, and you go and do those things, the next time you meet that individual, they're going to get you an interview. At that point, that's the place you want to be. Now, we do have students that go all over the world. And just in a moment of trying to be positive, I left Bermuda on here, right? You can't go to Bermuda right now if you're in the United States because of this pandemic. I hate that. But we also have students in other countries, right, who aren't here in the US. So we do still source international opportunities. It's just very challenging right now for students to travel between countries, just like it's a challenge to travel within the United States for some people. So a lot of these opportunities are virtual. A lot of them, or I'd say 95% of them, are paid. That's also something that we monitor, is to make sure that the organization is fairly compensating the student, and that's part of that LMS course that I was describing. We also get feedback from them. So these are places that our students typically go, but we can't put all of the companies in the world on here, which is what our sort of database looks like. It just really is dependent on what your student wants to do, and we are here to help them. Our next slide is my contact information. So our staff is available. We actually have extended hours to accommodate our international student population and folks in different time zones. So you should be able to reach us at any point you need a virtual appointment. You know, our staff is working from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. We also do Sunday afternoons and evenings, just doing everything we can to make sure we're accessible to you. So that's what we're here for, and thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. For those of you who did register, thank you so much. And you submitted some fantastic questions. Some of your questions were actually answered during the presentation itself, but some were not. So I'm going to ask the panelists a few of your very specific questions, and then we'll wrap it up from here. And I'll tell you just a reminder of where you can access the ARCH dates, because I know quite a few were wondering, how can I as a parent find those dates? So I'll let you know after we do our panel questions. So the very first one is for Director Felder in the ARCH. What are the accommodations for housing during the ARCH semester?
Yes, so I actually just answered one of those questions in the live feedback. So thank you for submitting that question to that parent who submitted it. So what I want to do is answer that here as well. So as far as the housing is concerned, as we talked about in the very beginning, the de-densification of the campus requires that there's only 2 students to a room. And that's currently what the policy is for our first year students who are in housing. So that is actually what you can expect to see for the ARCH summer term as well, and for this upcoming spring term. One of the questions in the feedback form was about this spring term specifically, and if a student has specific ailments or there's some extenuating circumstances, you know, who do they go to talk about that? And so what I want to plug here is that definitely if you have circumstances or anything that is applicable to a student's health, you want to be applying for the housing waiver for review. That goes before the committee and they make a determination as to whether or not that waiver will be granted. And so all sophomores are expected to be on campus this spring and on campus this summer. And so that housing takes place. But what happens is the housing that they're going to be in for the spring is pretty much where they're going to be designated for the ARCH summer term. So there isn't a lot of moving that will have to take place between spring and summer. So that's what the Institute is gearing up for now. Of course, we know the students will be coming back in after the fall term ends, November 20th, everyone will be remote, but the sophomores will be coming back early spring. So if there are some certain circumstances that a student has for health reasons or whatever the case may be, I encourage them to visit sll.rpi.edu. That's the Student Living and Learning website. And if you scroll all the way down to where it says forms and policy, you will find the housing waiver on that website. So yes, all students expected to be here in spring and summer. And if you have extenuating circumstances, you'll want to submit a housing waiver for review.
Thank you. I have another question for you. Can you explain the exemption process?
Yes, so the exemption process is going to be happening for this cycle, for the summer 2021 cycle. It begins December 11th this year. And on the ARCH website under exception process, there is a robust sort of outline of exactly what this process entails and who it is exactly for. And so what the exception process is for some of our students who have academic extenuating circumstances, meaning they're extremely accelerated, or they could be terribly behind due to some leave of absences for maybe 2 semesters, 3 semesters, 4, to where they're significantly behind. Or they could be completely accelerated to where there are no classes that would typically be available for them in the summer term. That's the kind of student that would need to submit an ARCH exception for review. So that's an academic related exception. We also have athletic and ROTC exceptions for specific sports. And those specific sports are on the website as well. And we partner with the coaches and the compliance specialists to make sure that those students are submitted ahead of time, so we have a handle on who exactly will be submitting for an ARCH exception. So what the ARCH exception does for these students is it provides them the exception from the summer term and semester away requirement, which is a degree requirement for our students. We also have the career-related exceptions that our CCPD specifically handles. And so that's a little bit more in depth as far as on the career-related side. Mr. Bruce, you want to jump in on that piece a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So, we do have students that secure opportunities that are truly life-changing, and we needed a mechanism to be able to allow students to participate in those. That's what the career-related exception would involve. There are a series of questions that we do ask students to answer just to make sure that we're providing a fair and equitable process for the exceptions. I can tell you it's difficult to get an exception because of the value that the ARCH program has for students, whether they think they need it or not. We know they do, and so we want them to be here this summer. But if you are going to Mars with Elon Musk next summer, right? Okay, that's probably going to be okay. If you have a very normal opportunity that could be extended into the fall or spring semester, that's probably going to be what we need you to do. And we know that your experience will be better in that opportunity in the fall or spring. You get more time. You're not around as many other interns and co-op students. It is an incredible opportunity to be able to do it in experiential learning in the fall or spring semester. So you're going to see on December 11th what that process looks like, and we're happy to review any of the students that do submit. But I don't want you to think that just because you filled out that form that that's what's going to happen.
Okay, thank you. So this question is for financial aid. You spoke about this a little bit during your presentation, but if you just want to reiterate, how do you ensure the semester away doesn't trigger early student loan repayment?
Sure, thank you. That's a great question. And one thing that we know is that it's a big data environment. And so when it comes to schools that participate in the federal student aid programs, there are monthly requirements for us to report essentially our full enrollment to the federal government, particularly for the students that are receiving federal aid. Rensselaer uses a process through an organization called the Clearinghouse. That's kind of a registrar example. But from a mechanical perspective, we report our enrollment monthly through the Clearinghouse. They report the student as either full-time, half-time, less than half-time. And so the ARCH activity, I mentioned it's not an academic credit, but that counts as a qualified enrollment status to remain in loan deferment. So as long as the student is enrolled in the ILE and they're following those rules, then they'll be reported as enrolled during our normal cycles, and those will help keep the government happy, and their big data machine will know to not put your student into repayment.
Thank you. And a question for the Bursar, can you just reiterate when the ARCH summer term bill will be due, or when they should expect to see that first bill?
Yeah, the first bill for the summer ARCH will be April 1st, and it'll be due April 24th. And again, that's assuming everyone is registered. So that's kind of what we want to make sure everyone does by doing their FAFSA, getting their registration in, and then by doing their FAFSA on time, their aid will be on the bill. So you want an accurate bill. You don't want to just get the charges. So you want to go through the whole step and process. But April 1st, May 1st will be the second one. But April will be your first one, and that's really where we're keyed in on.
Great, thank you. So the next questions are for Dr. Powell and OUE. Will the appropriate amount of classes be available in the summer term?
Yes, thank you for that question. The answer is yes, to the best of our ability. I think over the last year, each department has done an amazing job being able to curate courses that meet the graduation progression of our students. Also, there have been courses that have been added to increase the rigor. So there's some of the upper level courses that have been added to the summer experience. And so each department every year considers what is necessary for their students, what's a part of their each individual program according to major, so that there are adequate courses available for them. As Director Felden mentioned a little while ago, in the event that after all of that is done and there still seems to be not enough courses to really meet the requirements for that individual student, then as per the direction and in consultation with the faculty advisor, the student would apply for an academic exception. We really have strived to reduce the number of those by making sure that we have adequate courses available for students to take over the summer.
Thank you. The next question is also for you again. It's the biggest one that we saw. What happens if a student does not secure an away semester?
Thank you for that question. And yes, that is a huge question. And so the way I want to answer that is by reminding you what the variety of semester away options are. And so it's not restricted to a co-op or an internship. And some may think if they don't get that they can't do anything else. And as you saw from the slide that I was able to just provide some direction on, there are a variety of the options available. And so what we strongly encourage students to do is to look at their different pathways. If for some reason they've explored the others and they just are not viable for them, then students are encouraged and directed to take a self-design pathway. And the self-design is a viable opportunity as previously discussed. It's not a fallback. It's not just if you can't do anything else, do that. There's so many other things that can be really acquired, that students can acquire when they take advantage of the self-design pathway. So we want students to just be cognizant of those varieties, and they really shouldn't be a situation where they don't have a semester away plan. You will have something. It may not necessarily be what you thought you wanted at the very beginning, but you definitely will be able to secure something, and each of our offices are there to assist you with making those decisions.
Thank you. Would you be able to tell us the importance of the self-design project, or also give us information on past self-design projects?
Absolutely. And so there is actually a list of past self-design projects that were was curated and was placed on the ARCH website. So you're encouraged to go there to take a look at the things that have already been done and things that our students are continuing to explore. I'm looking forward to having a new set of opportunities to add to the website after this coming spring, because we're going to have a new set of students going out, and many of them will probably be taking on the ILE Self Design. And so that will give the incoming students an idea of what to look for and how to consider constructing their own plans around that. There's also a webinar that I hosted I think it was last week, if it wasn't 2 days ago, that discussed the ILE self-design as an option for the semester away. I encourage parents and for students to go take a look at that. That's also on the ARCH website. And then finally, if students are thinking about if an idea is a good one, if they feel like they just want to question if they, what they're thinking is going on is in the right direction, feel free to give me a call or send me an email, and I will definitely guide them appropriately.
Thank you. And the last few questions are for CCPD. The first one is, when is the next job fair?
The next job fair is actually December 2nd. It's all majors networking fair. And that's new this fall. Like normally the big fair of the fall semester is always our NSBE Shep fair, which has already taken place. But given the pandemic situation, we felt we needed to do our best to provide some more resources for students to be able to locate those opportunities. We've had several industry weeks of engagement over the past few weeks, and those have gone very well. But the next big one is December 2nd.
Great. The next question is, how do smaller major students like Haas receive help finding internships?
Well, yeah, good question, right? Because Haas is got some very unique majors within its umbrella. And, first, let me just say personally, both of my degrees are in social science. So I very much want to help these students. And the best way I can tell you to do that is to meet with your career counselor. If you are in Haas, you're going to have a lot of opportunity to do a lot of different things across multiple industries. That means it can be overwhelming to Haas students at times. And that's true really for any student, across RPI's campus, but for Haas in particular, the market is really unique to what you want to do with it. And now there may be a situation where if you're purely wanting to go into video game development or electronic arts or things like that, and you're very specific and narrow, it can be challenging right now. All right, so Sony Santa Monica Studios isn't even posting positions because they get so many applications for their intern and co-op positions. That means we either have to be doing things right now to make sure you are just the top candidate, or we need to have some other plans for you, right? And that's where we fall back on what we were talking about with the different ways we can help you if you come and tell us about it. So if you're a Haas student out there or a parent of a Haas student and you're like, where are these jobs? Come see us. Let us help your student figure out where those jobs are, and then we'll help prepare them to go get it. That's what we're doing, not just for Haas students, but for all students.
Thank you. And the final question for you is, when are companies actively hiring for the fall 2021 and spring 2022 semesters?
Boy, I wish I knew the answer to that 100%. But until we have those two things that I said earlier, either stimulus and or a vaccine, the recruitment cycle is just in such a flux right now that what I can tell you is we can't control that. What we can control is how you spend your time leading up to that. And we want to be getting you as prepared as you possibly can be for when there is some either normal return or more likely adapting to the environment that we're in now. And then that becomes normal. So are you ready for that? If you are, then we're in a good spot. If not, then we need to get you there, because there's just no way to predict when multiple industries are going to be back on track with their recruitment. But we look forward to that day more than you know, and we stand by ready to help your students when that time comes.
All righty. Thank you to all of our panelists and presenters. This is just a reminder for the ARCH required information. They will be selecting their semester away at the end of the fall term. They will be immediately enrolled into the ARCH Exploration and Planning course in spring 2021, and they will have either fall 2021 or spring 2022 to choose from as a semester away. And we recommend the students think really hard before they just select it, as changing it could be difficult. Now, for the parents who do want access to the ARCH timeline and all the dates for the rest of the year, if you go to the ARCH website, go to ARCH Discovery Day, you'll be able to download the ARCH calendar brochure that all the students received during this very similar presentation during ARCH Discovery Day earlier this year. And as always, you can contact the offices for the specific questions you may have. And then you can also contact the ARCH office at thearch@rpi.edu, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can for any of your concerns. So we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your semester.
Okay, I think we can go